Welcome back to Stoic Venture. Today, we're venturing into one of the core aspects of a meaningful life: respect. Not the shallow transactional respect that fades with circumstances, but a deeper, abiding respect that stands the test of time. True respect is built through consistent actions, values, and the principles we live by. The Stoics believed that respect is something we cultivate within through discipline, self-knowledge, and resilience. Respect is not a matter of popularity or fame, it's a matter of integrity. So today, let's talk about 6 habits that can destroy this inner foundation. These habits may seem small, even innocuous, but they chip away at our character and self-worth over time. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." It's a call to action, to take responsibility for who we are and who we aim to become. As we journey through each habit, I encourage you to reflect. Ask yourself honestly, do I see traces of these habits in my own life? And if so, what am I willing to do to change them? Let's dive deep into each one. Habit 1. Seeking validation. Let's begin with a common yet deeply destructive habit: seeking validation. Many people go through life as if they're on stage, performing for an audience whose approval they crave. This habit is often masked by words like feedback or advice, but at its core, it's about external validation. Marcus Aurelius said, "People who love what they do wear themselves down doing it. They even forget to wash or eat." Imagine if we could focus on our lives with the same dedication without seeking recognition. When we act from a place of true purpose, not to win applause, but to satisfy our own sense of what is right, we cultivate strength. But when we seek validation, we give others power over us. To start breaking this habit, try spending time each day disconnected from external influence. Set aside moments for yourself, away from social media, away from the voices of others, and listen to your own thoughts. Reflect on what you value, what you find meaningful, not what the world says you should. This practice alone can build a foundation of self-respect. And when we validate ourselves, we find that we're far less interested in the fleeting approval of others. Habit 2. Complaining and self-pity. Next, let's explore the habit of complaining. Complaining feels natural. It's often a release when things don't go our way. But the Stoics warned that dwelling in negativity leads to a weakening of the spirit. Epictetus famously said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." When we complain, we're focusing on what's wrong, rather than what we can do to make it right. Think about people you admire. Do they dwell on misfortune, or do they push forward with resilience? The Stoics were resilient precisely because they didn't waste energy on complaints. Imagine a soldier on the battlefield who, instead of fighting, simply complains about the dangers. This attitude weakens them, leaving them vulnerable. The same principle applies to life. Complaining creates a habit of helplessness, a mindset that suggests, "I am a victim and I have no control." So how do we break this habit? Practice gratitude. Every time you're tempted to complain, pause and name one thing you're grateful for, no matter how small. Reflect on the fact that life itself is a gift, as fragile as it is unpredictable. With practice, you'll find that gratitude crowds out complaint. And when we learn to rise above the urge to complain, we build resilience, a quality that naturally earns respect. Habit 3. Living beyond your means. In today's world, materialism is celebrated as a marker of success. The pressure to buy, to own, and to showcase wealth is constant. Social media, advertisements, and even our social circles can make us feel inadequate if we aren't keeping up. But what's the true cost of living beyond our means? According to the Stoics, it's our peace of mind, our independence, and our freedom. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest Stoics, understood the danger of attachment to wealth. Despite his fortune, he practiced voluntary poverty, deliberately living with fewer resources to train himself to live contentedly with less. He said, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" This practice was not about deprivation, it was about freedom. By training himself to be comfortable with less, Seneca freed himself from the fear of loss. The Stoics saw unrestrained desire as a form of slavery. When our happiness depends on possessions, we become bound to those items and their maintenance. We work longer hours, we take on debts, and we live in a cycle of needing more to feel satisfied. This endless craving weakens us, pulling us further from peace and contentment. Imagine living with the mindset that what you have is already enough. Imagine not needing to impress anyone with your possessions, but instead finding joy in simplicity and gratitude. Marcus Aurelius warned against this endless search for more when he said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Happiness, he taught, is a state of mind, not a state of wealth. Pause for a moment to ask yourself, what do I truly need to feel fulfilled? Often, when we dig deep, we find that our needs are simpler than we thought. We need companionship, purpose, and moments of joy. None of these can be bought with money. The more we can recognize what truly fulfills us, the less we're swayed by the fleeting appeal of material things. This concept may seem countercultural, especially in a world that equates success with accumulation. But the Stoics remind us that true wealth lies not in our possessions, but in our capacity to be content. As Epictetus put it, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The fewer our wants, the freer we are. To truly embody this Stoic habit, consider incorporating these practices into your life. Like Seneca, try a period of voluntary simplicity. Spend a week or even a month reducing your purchases to only the essentials. Use this time to observe how it affects your mindset. Do you feel freer? Less anxious? Reflect on how little you truly need. Go through your belongings and identify items you rarely use. Ask yourself, does this possession serve my life, or am I serving it? Donating items you don't need not only simplifies your space, but also reinforces the idea that your value isn't tied to things. Establish clear, healthy boundaries around your spending. Create a budget based on your needs and set aside money for experiences that truly matter to you, like time with loved ones, learning, or personal growth. When we prioritize spending on meaningful experiences rather than on status symbols, we cultivate a sense of abundance within. A significant part of living beyond our means often stems from comparing ourselves to others. We see someone else with a new car, a bigger house, or luxury items, and we feel a subtle pressure to keep up. The Stoics were deeply aware of this tendency, and they actively worked against it by focusing on their own values rather than external appearances. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to look beneath the surface. Let not the several qualities of a thing nor its worth escape thee. Ask yourself, am I buying this for myself, or because I think it will make me look good in the eyes of others? Reflecting on this question honestly can help you separate genuine needs from the influence of comparison. Remember, every time we buy something purely to impress, we reinforce the idea that our worth is tied to appearances rather than character. The Stoics believed in the power of enough. When we learn to say, "This is enough," we discover a profound sense of satisfaction that no amount of wealth can buy. Practice identifying what is enough for you. This doesn't mean deprivation or scarcity, it means finding abundance in simplicity. Imagine walking into your home and feeling that everything there serves a purpose. Imagine spending your time and energy on pursuits that nourish your soul rather than chasing possessions that drain you. This mindset fosters a life of calm and focus, one that's respected not because it's filled with luxuries, but because it's rooted in true contentment. When we embrace this habit, we're not just changing our relationship with money, we're transforming our lives. Living within our means creates mental clarity. It allows us to focus on what truly matters: our relationships, our health, our growth. Imagine the time and energy you could reclaim if you weren't burdened by debt or overwhelmed by possessions. Additionally, people naturally respect those who live with discipline and contentment. When we show that we're satisfied with what we have, we project an inner strength that's rare and deeply admirable. This quiet confidence, rooted in simplicity, is far more compelling than any outward display of wealth. Living beyond our means can be a prison, but when we break free from that cycle, we regain our autonomy. We become the kind of person who others look up to, not because we have more, but because we're fulfilled with less. Take a few moments to reflect on how this habit might show up in your own life. Ask yourself, what am I spending money on that doesn't truly serve me? How often do I feel pressure to buy things simply to keep up with others? What might I gain mentally, emotionally, and spiritually if I simplified my life? Breaking free from the need for more is an ongoing process, one that requires self-awareness and patience. But each small step toward simplicity brings you closer to a life of independence, fulfillment, and respect. Living within your means isn't just a financial practice. It's a way of cultivating resilience, of becoming unshakable, regardless of circumstances. And as the Stoics knew, this is the true path to freedom. Habit 4. Reacting emotionally. One of the most challenging yet essential habits to overcome is reacting emotionally. Emotions are natural, but letting them dictate our actions is a sign of immaturity. As Epictetus observed, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In life, we will face setbacks, confrontations, and disappointments. It's inevitable. But how we respond to these situations defines us. Imagine a person who remains calm in the face of an insult, a crisis, or a loss. This calmness is not a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of control. When we react emotionally, we hand over our power. We let others dictate our responses, giving them control over our state of mind. To develop emotional control, practice the pause technique. Whenever you feel anger or frustration, take a deep breath and pause. Count to 5. Reflect on what, if anything, would be gained by reacting impulsively. Often you'll find that the best response is no response at all. Over time, this practice will build inner strength, making you someone who commands respect. Not because you're emotionless, but because you're in command of your emotions. Habit 5. Avoiding responsibility. Avoiding responsibility is an easy habit to fall into. It's comfortable to let others lead, to avoid making tough decisions. But Stoicism teaches that responsibility is where true freedom lies. Epictetus urged us to take ownership of our choices, reminding us that the chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Consider this. Every time we avoid responsibility, we erode our own self-trust. We tell ourselves, I am not capable. But by taking responsibility, even in small matters, we cultivate confidence. Start small. Take responsibility for your day-to-day choices, even if they're minor. Build a track record of dependability so that when larger challenges arise, you're ready to face them. Imagine someone who takes ownership, who shows up fully in every task. Such people naturally earn respect because they're dependable. When we commit to taking responsibility, we show ourselves and others that we are trustworthy and capable. Habit 6. Fear of change. Finally, let's address one of the most pervasive habits that holds people back: the fear of change. The Stoics understood that the world is in a constant state of flux, and resisting this natural rhythm only causes suffering. Marcus Aurelius noted, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change." When we cling to the familiar, we're essentially clinging to a static version of ourselves, refusing to grow, adapt, or face new challenges. But by avoiding change, we deny ourselves opportunities for growth. Think of a tree in a storm. It doesn't resist the wind, but bends with it, adapting and becoming stronger as a result. In life, resilience comes not from rigidity, but from adaptability. To overcome the fear of change, practice embracing uncertainty in small ways. Try new routines, learn new skills, or meet new people. Challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone regularly. Reflect on changes you faced in the past and how they ultimately led to growth. When we begin to view change as an opportunity rather than a threat, we become resilient. We become unshakable. This resilience is something others deeply respect. A person who can move forward, regardless of circumstances, inspires trust. They show that they aren't bound by fear, but guided by strength and courage. Respect is not built overnight. It's the cumulative effect of the choices we make every day, the habits we cultivate, and the actions we take. By removing these 6 habits, seeking validation, complaining, living beyond our means, reacting emotionally, avoiding responsibility, and fearing change, we carve a path toward a life filled with purpose, self-assurance, and resilience. The Stoics were not just philosophers, they were practitioners of the art of living. Their wisdom is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. They believed that each of us has the power to live with dignity, to act with integrity, and to face life's challenges with courage. This philosophy teaches us that respect isn't something we demand from others. It's something we earn by the way we live and the values we uphold. Imagine a life where you are not swayed by external validation, where you meet challenges with grace rather than complaints, where your self-worth is not tied to possessions, where emotions serve you rather than control you, where you face responsibility with confidence, and where you welcome change as an ally rather than an enemy. This is the life of someone who commands true respect. Take a moment to reflect on the journey we've taken together today. Think about which of these habits resonate most with you. Change is difficult, and we're all a work in progress. But remember, each small effort, each conscious choice, brings you closer to a life worthy of admiration, not just from others, but from yourself. Thank you for joining me on Stoic Depths, where we explore timeless wisdom and practical insights for a life of meaning, resilience, and integrity. I hope today's reflection leaves you feeling inspired and empowered to make these changes. Together, let's continue to grow, to deepen our understanding, and to live a life that reflects the best of who we are. To reach your time goal, consider including periodic reflection breaks and guided exercises within the video. This allows viewers to pause and think deeply about the concepts, enhancing engagement. After each habit, introduce a brief pause with reflective questions. What does self-respect mean to you? What is one small step you could take today to shift away from this habit? Take 5 minutes to write about a recent moment where you felt the need for validation. Reflect on how you could find validation within yourself instead. List 3 things you're grateful for when you feel tempted to complain. Write down an item you've wanted to buy. Reflect on whether it aligns with your values or if it's an impulse. These breaks give viewers practical tools to apply Stoic wisdom to their lives and deepen their connection to the content.